There's many, many, many steps, but there are 7 essential conversations we need to have, either with ourselves or with other people. First of all, what are our wishes and fears about the future? What do we want? We need to have legal conversations about legal documents, care options, financial, legacy, end of life, and what to do with our personal property. And you know what? It's really interesting, but since there are conversations we have to have, there's an opportunity to enhance relationships.
So someone like me, it's just research is just, I love the details. I love the science. I love all the aspects of it. I love that excitement of something working.
Live your own great story and create that. So that can be anything from a very small kind of, you volunteer once a week at the book shelter, or somewhere at a local senior center and you're handling, a food bank, or you're working at the LGBT center, whatever it is in your community, whatever it is in your life, maybe it's your church, whatever that looks like, but, create your own story, have something to be able to look back on and build upon that says, this is me giving from my heart to others. It's not about what you receive, it's what you give. And I believe in giving back, and in turn, if you give, you shall receive. You just have to be open to receive whatever that is.
One step leads to the next, but it's kind of getting them out of that initial isolation first, getting them out and feel comfortable enough to join in and participate.
Hello, everybody. I'm very excited to welcome you to the series premiere of Life Positive, which, as you just saw, is spotlighting people living with, impacted by, and or working to bring about the end of HIV and AIDS. This particular episode kicks off the 2021 fall season premieres on promohomo.tv. And I couldn't be more honored and more excited. I have some really important interviews coming up for you. And this is particularly timed with a really important event taking place virtually, so you can participate anywhere in the world. But it's taking place September 18th, 2021. So if you see this in time and you go to the episode page for the Life Positive premiere at Promo Homo TV, you'll be able to find the registration link to Aging Positively, the Reunion Project. This is the annual Coachella Valley Conference aimed at providing practical information and inspiration for those aging with HIV, and it's bringing together community leaders to improve the lives of older adults living with HIV, of which I am one. So 4 interviews coming up specifically about the Reunion Project. Excuse me. But before we get onto that, I want to thank DAP Health for their ongoing support of my show. I'm celebrating 10 years as a client of DAP Health, and one of their philosophies is we welcome all people, period. I'm glad they welcome me. For more information, go to daphealth.org/promote-homo-TV. A big shout out to 849 Restaurant and Lounge. They're also very supportive of my show. They're based here in the Palm Springs area if you have a chance to go. I'm proud to be Promo Homo TV as an official media sponsor of Palm Springs Pride, and the Palm Springs Pride Parade will be broadcast on Promo Homo TV. I'll start my pre-parade broadcast an hour before the actual parade. The pre-parade broadcast will start at 9 a.m. on local time, Pacific Standard Time, here on Promo Homo TV. And of course, on Palm Canyon at 10 o'clock, the parade starts. I'm a proud media sponsor of the LGBT Community Center of the Desert. You can find them at thecentercv.org. They build vibrant community, and one of their key goals is to eliminate isolation and loneliness, which is a theme we're discussing in this particular episode. There is now Promo Homo TV merch, which you can find on Amazon. And if you send me a photo with you and the merch with your permission, I might feature it in the show. And one of the things you're going to learn about in this series in particular is the existence of an HIV testing safer sex awareness campaign in the form of a song and music video. And you can listen to that song whenever you want by asking your smart speaker to play it. And I'm just very honored about that. It's also available on Amazon. One of the series is on Promo Homo TV is called Notes from Hollywood. I spotlight all kinds of other people pursuing professions in the entertainment industry, but a storyline in this season will be to follow my own pursuits as an actor. And if you want to follow along with me, you can go to promohomo.tv/actor. You met the superstars at the beginning of the show. You can subscribe to this network. It's free, but you can subscribe for a nominal amount every month. And you just go to promohomo.tv/superstars for information about that. Now, if you're watching this broadcast live, and we're going out live. We started later than I anticipated because of technical issues. But if you're watching live, and we're going out live just after 8 p.m. on Tuesday, September 14th, Pacific Daylight Time, I'm actually going to give you a custom hashtag at some point during the broadcast. I'm going to give you a custom hashtag. You're going to be able to enter that custom hashtag into the social media comments that you're on the platform that you're watching on. And at the end of the show, I'm going to do a live drawing, and one of you is going to win the bumper sticker that you're seeing right there on your screen. So that's definitely coming up. I already have a comment. And Brett Klein is actually the first person you're going to see interviewed. He's a wonderful person. He comments, "Exciting day and congratulations, Nicholas, on the premiere of Life Positive." So throughout the live broadcast, if you comment, even during the pre-recorded interviews, which I'm going to roll into the show, I can feature your remarks on the screen. So the Aging Positively Reunion Project Conference has been brought together with collaborating organizations, and I'm going to be putting a scroll of the organizations that help make it all possible below. And you're going to be able to be reminded of all the important organizations that participate in the show. Now, I just want to let you know that the Reunion Project has a diverse participant and organizing base. And this series, I pledge, is going to be very diverse. But through circumstances that are beyond my control, my guest today happened to be white gay men. I promised you that I made an effort for a more diverse panel on the premiere broadcast, and it's not lost on me that that's the composition of today's guest, but just know I'm pledged to featuring diverse stories in the series, and I just want to be really upfront with that. Just a reminder that if you ask a question or make a comment during the live broadcast, I may feature your comment on the screen. And when an episode is broadcasting live, you're going to be able to see the custom hashtag that will allow you to enter into the giveaway at the end of the show. So without further delay, I'm going to bring to you the first of 4 interviews that I'm so honored to present in the series premiere of Life Positive. I could not be more honored that my first interview on the brand new show, Life Positive, is with Brett Klein, who I love and respect for who you are in the world. And it's a privilege to talk to you.
Oh, that's so sweet, Nicholas. And I feel the same way. I have known you from the very, very beginnings, not your way back beginnings, but, with DAP and so many other things, with positive, HIV positive reinforcement, with all the positive things that we've garnered working together. And I'm just pleased to be here.
Well, thank you so much. I'm celebrating my 10th anniversary as a client of DAP Health, and I always put that out there, and it is something to celebrate, which actually leads me to something I wanted to ask you. This series is premiering right before the HIV and Aging Conference. I always feel a little bit odd classifying myself in the group, not that I'm not getting older, it's just that I've been positive since 2007, and I believe you've been positive since 1983.
93, actually.
93.
Coming up on 29 years.
Right. So I just feel like there's a huge difference between the people that found out they were positive before or right after there was decent treatment versus people that have become positive when we already knew that it was a chronic manageable illness and it wasn't something that I never looked at it as a death sentence, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. I had the other side of that. Everyone in my, now we have support groups that are split by individuals who are just tested positive, people who are, way into the process, lifelong survivors, those kind of things. They're all separate. Back in my day when we started, everything was in one room at the same time. So I would have somebody next to me, literally an end of life with a PICC line and fluids, next to myself who just tested positive the week before. And, the counselors and people are trying to engage you in a conversation about what HIV is. So it is a world-changing scenario. And so when you get to, and I say that, Aging Positively, Reunion Project is the title of the event, and we framed it that way because regardless of whatever age you are, whether you're newly diagnosed or whether you're a long-time survivor or you're someone affected by others, maybe you're not positive but you have lived through the pandemic and you have individuals who you care for and maybe still involved with that are positive, you want to be informed, you want to be educated. And so it's aging positively, whatever age bracket that means to you.
Well, that's very powerful and clarifying. The point that I want to make is that I acknowledge that I've had an easier, gentler path because of the timing of my own HIV positive diagnosis and the healthcare that was available. And I have the people that came before me to thank for that because of the sacrifices that were made, the research that was done, the lives that were lost, and the lives that were saved.
Absolutely. No, and I would absolutely agree with that. I mean, even in 93, thankfully, had it been 2 years prior, I may not be here today. They had just come out with certain drugs and AZT and some others, which are horrific on your body, but those may have been enough to, life prolonging to get to the next drug regimen, to get to the next. So, when you come around 2007 and individuals today in 2021, the hardest part is getting people into care, getting them treated that they actually know they are positive, and then getting them on some type of treatment plan. that's where we miss the boat in many markets around the country and around the world, is that people don't have access to the medications they actually need for life prolonging life.
So much I want to follow up on that, but first of all, I want to put us in context. So why are we standing in front of Eisenhower Health Center, and why is Brett decked out with this really fabulous bicycle? What is this about? So you can see
You just found me on the street.
That's usually how I find men. No,
Well,
no.
true. And cyclists.
So tell me, put the outfit and the location in context.
Yeah, so well, the location in context is, it's part of Aging Positively Union Project event honoring National HIV and Aging National HIV Awareness Day. Eisenhower Health is proud to be a host sponsor of the event and has been since its inception. And I work for Eisenhower Health. I am also not only involved intimately in the planning of the event, but I'm a client. And so, my care coming to the desert, I had exceptional care with my provider, Dr. Michael Hughes, and I've had excellent HIV care, and I couldn't say enough about our plan. And it's not because I'm an employee, but I am a happy client with Eisenhower, and I'm also very proud that my employer also, takes interest in these type of events and is a very strong supporter of HIV.
And the outfit and the bike.
Yeah, and the outfit and the bike. So
The fashion of the moment.
Fashion of the moment. So as you can see, HIV positive, I wear it proudly. This is part of Positive Peddlers, part of AIDS Life Cycle. I am now was going to be in 2019 or in 20. I was going to ride my, it'd be 20 years since I rode my last, AIDS or California AIDS ride, which is now AIDS Life Cycle. And of course, those got canceled, and we did virtually for the last 2 years. But now it's back in force, and we are planning to ride again, which is from San Francisco to LA, June 5th through 11th, 2022, and it's 545 miles. And I am going to ramp up, and I'm going to ride with 3,000 other riders and raise funds for the LA Gay and Lesbian Center, which is where I was diagnosed, where I got my initial care, psychological help, medical help, all the things I needed, and then San Francisco AIDS Foundation as well. And so I'm proudly riding with a group here in the desert that raises a lot of money for HIV, and we have probably about 75 riders that will train with us all season and then ride with us next June. And so I proudly wear this outfit, and I ride as much as I can, even though our weather's a little balmy at the moment. And but getting out and riding is a good thing, and it's healthy.
And I know that this isn't a secret, but how old are you?
I am 60 this year, so I just turned 60 August 5th. So it has been. It is funny, people say, "Oh, at this date, certain things happen," and I'm sweating more. I'm doing different things, all these different things. I'm like, "Am I having male menopause? What is this?" And then they're like, "No, you just, it's 120 outside. You're just getting back out on your bike, and And who knows? It's but the reality is, it's the whole concept of aging, and what does that mean to you, and do you need to buy into it? That's always my thing. Do you buy into the aging aspect, where you think aging means I'm old? No, aging just means you're an educated adult and you are moving forward in whatever that is in your lifestyle, and you get out there and still work hard. You still get out there and work out, or you go to the gym, or you socialize, or whatever it is. You volunteer, which I do a ton of. It's those kind of things, instead of just sitting in the house watching TV and not being active.
I hear you. As my audience knows, I've lost 65 pounds in the last year and a half.
You, my friend, are. I remember you, and I was always your supporter and never body shaming. But I am so proud that you have just mentally and physically, got yourself into a healthy place that you want to be for you.
Well, I put on a lot of weight because of an illness and a medication and an unknown issue. And once I've connected those dots, I really, with supportive agencies like Eisenhower Health, with DAP Health, with the center, with the other organizations that are involved with this conference, with advocacy around us, I've learned to become my own self-advocate rather fiercely.
Yes.
and I access mental health care. I access a registered dietitian. I use 12-step programs. And around health and nutrition, I use an app called MyFitnessPal.
I do as well.
And every single thing I've eaten for the last, I think, 600 days I've entered.
Oh yeah, no, you do. You become a slave. This is where you become the weird slave to it. My partner and I, and my husband, we also have our Apple Watches, and so you will be watching a movie and you're engaged and you're right in the middle of the scene, and your phone goes off or your watch goes off and says, "You got to get up and walk." And that damn app.
Right.
And we do. We stop. We put it on pause. We both get up and we walk like for 20 feet, and we walk back so we can say we're active.
You did your stand goal.
Did my stand goal.
Now, I also participated in an interview series that you participated in that was created to help promote the upcoming Aging Positively conference. It's upcoming if you're watching the premiere of Life Positive on September 14th. The conference is on the 18th. But one of the things that we were both asked is, what would we say to someone that was newly discovered they were living with HIV? Because fear and isolation and loneliness and disconnection and all kinds of things could be a part of that person's experience in that moment.
Absolutely. Well, thankfully, with good and bad with our internet that we have today, and so many different group sites and that, but there are some amazing HIV-specific groups online, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. There's many very HIV positive in the sense of just affirmationally positive. People that are having, you post a question out there, you post a dilemma, and you will have 50 people who are giving you immediacy. If you said you needed a place to sleep this weekend because you were just kicked out of your home, you would have people ringing your number and saying, "I have a camper, I have a whatever, let me find you a hotel." It's that type of support system. And many of those individuals are people like myself that have been living with it for a very long time, and others that have lived longer than I have, that are giving back. Because they lost so many friends and so many family members throughout this time that now when somebody reaches out, you want to give back. And so the other side of it is volunteering. The LGBT Center has a great group of individuals. While they may not be openly HIV positive in the sense of they have a group for it, you start volunteering with them and you meet so many people that are sharing your same story. And saying, it's like, "Oh, I've been positive. Oh, I'm positive too." And and it's just it's a matter of fact, and it's just another piece of saying, maybe I have diabetes, maybe I have whatever illness, and people are there to support and to shore you up on your bad days and to help you along the way and whatever that is. And likewise, it gives you a place to give back. It gives you personally, and that's what I love doing, is giving back to other individuals to say, let me help that person in some way, shape, or form. So there's a lot of stuff out there. People just have to step out of their boundaries a little bit and embrace that. And it can be as simple as just going to a social mixer somewhere. There's a bunch of different ones locally that you can just pop in, and they're HIV, you're HIV positive, and it's never really asked. That's just what it is. And the conversation is about what movie this weekend. It's not about the illness. It's about just social engagement and getting you out of your funk. So there's a lot of stuff out there.
There is. Now, one of the things that I think is surprising about Palm Springs is that stigma against people living with HIV is as real as ever. Even in one of what you would expect would be one of the most accepting, open, and supportive communities, which in many ways it is. Now, the way I experience this stigma directed at me is in my effort to basically have sex and intimacy in my life. There's so many people that will discount me as a person living with HIV. They don't understand the science behind U equals U, which means undetectable equals untransmittable, which means someone that's successfully treated with antiretroviral medication and they have an undetectable viral load, they're scientifically incapable of transmitting the virus. Did I say that in a way that you feel comfortable with?
Absolutely. That is absolutely much better than I would have said it, but that is, you got it all right.
I speak in sound bites. You should
do
know that by now.
U equals U is absolutely exactly the way you describe that, and it's a great program to be able to bring down that stigma, to break down those walls. It is different if you were single, I mean, I'm partnered here, but if you're single or you're meeting people, I hear this locally, and it is still shocking to me because you read, if you go into any men's group, you go into anything online, there's always, if somebody's trying to get a date, whatever it is, it always says, HIV negative, or it says, clean. Which is just a foul word in many cases because it's that stigma. It just propagates that stigma that says, I tested negative. Well, 1,000 questions comes up from those of us living with it. It's like, okay, so, when did you test negative? When did you have your last test? Oh, 6 months ago. Well, who did you date the last 72 hours? Who did you date the last 3 weeks, the last 6 months? It's all a relative window. People live in a lot of denial because they don't want to know, or they just think that they're immune from so many things, but yet they're living a lifestyle that may not actually indicate that. And so, I've learned way back in the day when I was single and dating that I just dismissed it. It's like someone says they didn't want to date me because I was positive. It's like, okay, bye, girl. It was, I literally told one guy this one time.
That was before we knew the term "Bye Felicia," by the way.
Felicia, exactly. I was just like, bye, girl. And they just looked at me like, what do you mean you don't want to be with me? And it's like, well, you just, you don't want to go with me because I'm positive, and that's fine. I don't need to see you ever again. So let's just, that's just what it is, I've been, very HIV positive in my own psyche, about just being who I am. And if somebody doesn't want part of that in any shape or form, it's like, that's fine. We all have choices. It doesn't mean that you need to stigmatize someone else. It doesn't mean you need to belittle someone else. I may not agree with people who hit on me at the gym of things that they're looking for that I have no interest in, and I say, but hopefully they don't take it when I say I'm not really interested that I'm somehow stigmatizing them. I'm just like, that's just not my thing. So people need to get off the marginalization and putting people in little pigeonhole kind of thing, especially in our gay community. They do that, and it's just, it's equally stifling, for these individuals who want to get out and be social.
One of the things that is pervasive in our community is isolation and loneliness. And I know that the organizations that are putting together the Aging Positively Conference know and address this issue. Yeah. What would you like to say about that particular topic?
Yeah, these organizations that are putting this together all have either groups or social engagements, or you just reach out to any of them. You tune into this conference on the 18th. We'll have all the information on every sponsor that's there, and there's so many others. But the LGBT Center has, Zoom lectures on every possible topic, because I run a lot of them with them in partnership on every kind of topic, from sexual health to HIV to other types of illnesses, and then just mentally positive reinforcements. And then you have Let's Kick Ass Palm Springs, which was a national organization, and they are HIV positive individuals and those affected by it that rally together, and they have lunches, and they meet at coffee shops, and they meet up here at Ristretto just for coffee, I think, on Sundays. And there's a lot of just kind of places to break down that isolation. You have all the others, JFS, you have
Jewish Family Services.
Thank you. You have Joslin, you have
Joslin Senior Center.
You have all the good ones. I know I have all the abbreviations. You have everybody partnering. Pals of the Desert, I love.
Richard Bass.
Thank you. And I always never remember. He's going to kill me that I never remember what PAL stands for. All I just know is...
I know his name is Richard Bass, but...
Yes, I just know that they do an immense amount of service for gay and lesbian individuals who are aging, and you just want to find any types of topics. And a lot of their stuff is just surviving, how to plan for the future, how to age, in our little world and get the answers we need. I've tuned in for a lot of his stuff on finance and other stuff that have just been eye-opening, because I'm like, wow, that was the answer I needed. So thankfully for Richard and his groups.
Now, when is the last moment people can register for Aging Positively? That's virtually on the 18th, and since it's virtual, I imagine it's accessible to people beyond the Coachella Valley. Oh,
absolutely. It is national or even international. I mean, we posted, it has been on a lot of different stuff. And because of HARP, which is HIV and AIDS Research Project, which is one of the founding partners, they have outreach to many HIV organizations around the globe. And so individuals will tune in from wherever, heavily Southern California, obviously, and the Coachella Valley. But in a virtual standpoint, you can register up till that morning. We like to get a sense of who's, kind of what the numbers look like so we can monitor our tech kind of stuff by, noon on that Friday the 17th. But being that we're not in person, you literally can tune in that next morning right before it starts at 9 a.m. Pacific Coast time, and you'd be right in. There's no holdup.
And I happen to know that people will watch this episode over and over again in perpetuity. So the Aging Positively conference does happen on an annual basis. And does the conference have its own web address?
The conference does not. Well, it does. You can register for the conference. You can go to Desert AIDS Project,
DAPhealth.org.
I'm in my old world on that, DAPhealth.org, and in their event tab, or you go to HIV, or you go to HARP, HARP-PS, and it'll be on their event page, and you can find the link right there, and it's through Eventbrite is what you link up with on that. It'll also be on their website, and it'll have the link in there for the Zoom information that is being offered via Zoom, so, and any of those. But DAP Health has been kind enough to kind of manage the event page and the materials behind it and the functional structure of it, which has been great. So it's a collaborative, this event, which I love, is it used to have two events, one every 6 months that was run by two different organizations, HARP on one side, DAP Health on the other, and I really got them to work together to say, this is a collaborative. HIV is not independent of these. We're spending tons of resources and staff time and trying to get people engaged and speaking, so why don't we do it once a year on the national date for awareness for HIV, and let's be a collaboration. Let's actually break down those barriers and those stigma between what people sometimes think is competitive organizations, which we are not. We all serve independent needs, we all serve the community at large, and we all partner together. Eisenhower is a strong partner with every single one of these organizations. We volunteer for them, we support them financially, we're at their walks, their dances, their whatever event they're doing, we are there as Eisenhower. And then conversely, every time we've ever done anything, DAP Health is right there with us. The center is always at the front line with us. PALS, JFS, Jocelyn, Let's Kick Ass, everybody is in there. So it's a very nice collaborative agreement.
And almost every organization Brett just named has a really great newsletter. For example, the LGBTQ Community Center of the Desert, they're all about creating vibrant community. They have a great newsletter. DAP Health and Revivals that are connected with each other do their regular newsletters. I'm sure Eisenhower has a newsletter.
We have our newsletter. You can go onto our website, and ours comes out monthly. We're not a marketing kind of thing, so we talk about our lectures. We tell that you can sign up, and we get a quarterly magazine we send out. I will say DAP Health just created. Stephen Henke has done an amazing job with their marketing as their brand engagement person. With all of our marketing behind this event, but also just for Revivals and for DAP and their messaging of healthcare. They have a new magazine that just came out, which is spectacular.
DAP Health Magazine.
Oh, is that what it's called? I have it in the car. I hadn't put the name to memory. But it's a great publication. And then you have a series as well that is hitting out there on, I think you have seen it, but it answers a lot of the questions of these interviews that each of us have put forward. And it's just, I think it's going to have a lot of plug this year. We already have close to 100 people signed up for virtual conference this far out, and we haven't ever had that. Usually it's about 125 to 150 people in person. So we just know that this is going to build as the years go by, and next year we'll be in person, and we can only hope with COVID behind us that everybody will be back in person and we can actually socialize and do all the things we talk about as well.
This is kind of funny, but until 2 days ago, I didn't know I had signed up for a virtual conference. I thought I got to go somewhere in person.
Well, you can come in person to be with the tech people.
That's okay. I don't mind.
There's only 7 of us. So you can either sit at home, as I've told our sponsor, our host organizations, your choice to sit at home in your slippers and have a coffee and a cappuccino or something, or you can come join me and about 6 other people who are handling all the tech side of it at Eisenhower that day, and I will buy you lunch.
No, that's very kind of you, but no, that's all right. I think I'm going to opt for the the coffee and robe and in front of my own. But being the promo homo, even for these virtual events, I always make sure my hair and makeup is intact, and
absolutely.
and I also and that I have great lighting for television, and then I'm always disappointed when whatever I'm participating in doesn't allow me to be on camera. I thought, well, why did I sign up if it's not going to be about me? No.
Well, the good thing about the virtual, so it's not a webinar format. So we ask people to, put their videos on. This part of that, what you talked about earlier about stigma, breaking down barriers, being visible. As being visible on camera, being visible in your environment. So whatever stage of life or whatever you're doing at home, that's obviously appropriate for camera, but tune in, turn your video on. We mute everybody, but we want to see faces. Our speakers want to see people. So thankfully with Zoom format, you can see other individuals and you can reach out and you can message people. There's a lot of stuff that just goes on the behind scenes that you can say, hey, Nicholas, hadn't seen you in a while. It's that kind of stuff that is still the engagement, even though it is virtual. It's not as
Will
much
you
fun.
be having emojis that communicate whether or not someone's single?
I don't know. That surprisingly they have not done that yet, and we should. We should have people say wear a green. It used to be back in the days when you'd go to a party or a bar, it'd be like green indicated single, red was partnered, yellow was something else. It's like approachable or not approachable. We should ask people to do that. That's a good idea. You should do that as part of your show.
Well, what I do when I'm in these virtual meetings in Zoom in particular is I will I'll listen to what's going on, but while I'm doing that, I'm looking at all the participants, and I'm making their video full screen, and I'm studying their design tips and figuring out, it's like, it's kind of voyeuristic.
It is. Well, that's part of it, and that's what our culture has become right now. I mean, good Lord, with TikTok and all these other things, I don't have enough time in the day to, you can get sucked into that void really quickly. And that's the thing that I would tell people too. To your question earlier, it's like the isolation. That in itself can be isolating. So if you spend your entire day and all of a sudden you realize, I've been on Facebook for the last hour and a half, whatever that is on a weekend. Well, wow, what could you have done for that hour and a half to go out and walk in the park? And maybe you just might have met someone along the walkway that you just said hello to and strike up a conversation. There's a lot of stuff that can be done that is not sitting just behind your computer or at home.
Well, I am so looking forward to these real world opportunities. Just to maybe tell you something you don't know, but to refresh my audience. So Life Positive, the new television series on Promo Homo TV, is inspired by my own book, Life Positive, A Journey to the Center of My Heart, a living powerfully with HIV memoir written as I lived it. And I became HIV positive while living in Thailand. Not Thailand's fault. I'm a responsible person. I made the decisions that put me in that situation. But I decided to go public with my story in a part of the world where there was a lot of invisibility and stigma around the issue. And that book ends when I return to Palm Springs and I move into the Vista Sunrise Apartments that's affiliated with DAP Health and start to rebuild my life. And who knew that in the next 10 years, Promo Homo TV would be born, this TV show would be born. But it is about giving so many different people the opportunity to express their life force as I do in a way that makes a difference. And I really thank you for being one of those really powerful, passionate people in our community.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's very touching. I feel the same way. I said I've known you since you came to DAP. I was working there at that time. So I'm just fortunate that you're still here with us and that you're out here and you're being a voice for our community that is so richly needed in many ways. I mean, you're at every event. You can never, if you pick up the phone and you ask Nicholas to be there, he's there.
It's been hard during the pandemic, but I'm really looking forward to being out on, I could have done this virtually, but I'm going to go out of my way not to do things virtually if I can.
Well, absolutely. And I appreciate you doing that because I'm like, well, let's do, when you said, hey, can we, when are you biking? And I said, well, I'm going to bike Sunday. So why don't we just get together and let's be outdoors and let's do it right.
Being the television producer, I wanted, the outfit and the signage. and great lighting, but not intense heat. There's all sorts of things that go into this. I want to wrap it up on an inspiring note, direct to camera. What would you like to say to anybody watching from any walk of life to inspire them today and in the future?
For me, it's really my mantra since kind of 2019 is, live your own great story and create that. So that can be anything from a very small kind of, you volunteer once a week at the book shelter or somewhere at a local senior center and you're handling, a food bank, or you're working at the LGBT center, whatever it is in your community, whatever it is in your life, maybe it's your church, whatever that looks like. But, create your own story. Have something to be able to look back on and build upon that says, this is me giving from my heart to others. It's not about what you receive, it's what you give. And I believe in giving back, and in turn, if you give, you shall receive. You just have to be open to receive whatever that is. You never know what your story is going to be, but if you don't put it out there, you're never going to have that. So
Beautiful from Brett Klein. So live your own story. If you don't like this chapter, turn the page, start a new one.
absolutely.
And I like to remember that really we're all writing the story together, and it doesn't exist without every one of us.
Absolutely. And it is. You're part of my story. I mean, my story today, as I said, Planning for AIDS life cycle, it's all part of the story and the journey. Come off an injury this year. So it's all about just getting back and engaging. And you're the first person who reached out to say, hey, let's talk about that. And somebody who comes up and says, what's your story? And that's what you've asked me today. And I'm so thrilled to be able to kind of say, this is me. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Brett. We're gonna cry now. So, Life Positive spotlights people living with, impacted by, or working to bring about the end of HIV and AIDS. If that's you and you're somehow connected to this subject matter and you want me to help write your story, reach out to me. And thank you again, Brett Klein.
My pleasure. Thank you, Nicholas.
So I really appreciate the interview with Brett, and I love it that you are all watching live. I have put up comments during the show, but I want to put up the most recent one from my friend Rock. I'll put it up again. He says, live your own story to inspire others. Now, for those of you who are watching live, there is the opportunity that I mentioned. I was gonna give you all an opportunity to win this particular, let me just make sure I find it. Yes, this particular sticker. I'm going to give you an opportunity to win this sticker live. And the way you're going to qualify to be entered into the contest is you need to put this hashtag in your comments between now and the end of the show when I do the live broadcast. So type that hashtag Life Positive Premiere, into the comments on whatever platform you happen to be watching on. And at the end of the show, for the first time ever on an episode of Promo Homo TV, I'm going to do a live giveaway for a bumper sticker. So I encourage you to participate. I have 3 short interviews coming up, so I encourage you to stay tuned. But I also, wanted to revisit a page of my book that I've been speaking about that inspired this series that's really about you. So the first entry I made in this book, which is Living Powerfully with HIV memoir, the first entry I made was on May 4th, 2008. I wrote the book over the course of about 3 years. And at some point, I wrote a particular page, and I think it was earlier in the process of writing the book. But the page that I wrote well into the process was so appropriate that I put it at the beginning of the book as a prologue. So this was like anywhere from 10 to 13 years ago that I wrote this particular page. And I wanted to read it to you now because at the time, who knew what was next? And I continue to write my own story, and I want to inspire you to do the same. But I'm going to read this page, and I think you'll get the gist of it. What if you saw a help wanted advertisement online or in the newspaper that went like this? Wanted, entrepreneurial activist. Job description. Honor and express your creativity in a way that makes a difference. Responsibilities. You will use your creativity to transform the lives of countless people, perhaps millions, while realizing many, if not all, of your own lifelong dreams. Specifically, you will write, produce, perform in, and distribute. I have to laugh because so much of this has come true. Specifically, you will write, produce, perform in, and distribute music, TV programs, motion pictures, and additional multimedia entertainment programming for international campaigns integrated with online social networks in strategic partnership with leading media, artists, and activists. I swear I haven't read this page in a long time. I just knew I was going to read it in this show. And it's just like I'm having a wow moment because I wrote this like 13 or 14 years ago. Actually 10 to 13 years ago. In this job, you will meet, collaborate with, and tell the stories of some of the world's most courageous people. Along the way, you will use your existing and increasing media spotlight to further your community service projects. In the context of this work, you will travel the world on a consistent basis. I sound full of myself now. You have to be full of yourself. You have to, really. In the context of this work, you will travel the world on a consistent basis, giving inspirational speeches and live performances while spotlighting the accomplishments and needs of organizations and individuals in the communities that you visit. Office hours, you set your own hours. Office location, you may telecommute to work from anywhere. The fine print. This position does not exist, nor does our company. You must take the lead and create all of this yourself. Most of the people you expect to support you will not. Many people you never thought would support you will. You have no money. You are 8,000 miles away from home. You are a single, lonely, middle-aged, fat gay man. And oh yes, you found out last year, so that means I wrote this in 2008. This page that I'm reading. And oh yes, you found out last year you became HIV positive. You live in a country and part of the world where there is tremendous stigma and invisibility regarding the issue. People have abandoned you. Your family does not know. And the key requirement of your job is that you keep telling this story. Apply now. To apply for this job, contact and stay in touch with your higher power. What you are about to read is a true story written as it happened, filled with the dramatic twists and turns, darkness and light, tragedy and ultimately triumph. Welcome to this journey to the center of my heart. May this journey inspire you to live in and act from the center of your heart as well. So it's just amazing, write your own story, as Brett said. So I just want to let you know that if you're watching live between now and the end of the show, in the comments on the social media platform on which you are viewing, type in hashtag LifePositivePremiere. That will enter you in a drawing to win the bumper sticker that I showed you. I have another comment. We have one entry. Fantastic. Love that. And so he's now entered, and you can all do that as well. So without further delay, I want to bring to you another wonderful interview. I have 3 more, and then we're going to do the drawing. So stay tuned to the premiere episode of Life Positive happening now. Remove my. So the new show, Life Positive, spotlights people living with, impacted by, or working to bring about the end of HIV and AIDS. My guest today would fall into that latter category. Greg Jackson is the research manager here at DAP Health. And I'm just very grateful for everything that you're doing, but would love to know more about what it is that you're doing.
Oh, absolutely. So here at DAP Health, we have a mission of kind of our catering to our clientele. So we want to provide cutting edge technology, cutting edge, research to our clients. So we've done anything from anal cancer prevention trials in patients with HIV to new treatments in HIV. We're actually very excited. We're about to start with a new class of agent for HIV, which has never been seen in anyone else. And we were lucky enough here at DAP to get such a trial. So it's a novel class of agent, going away from all those other agents that we've seen.
All right, so for the layperson, of which I would consider myself, what do you mean when you're saying a novel class of agent? What does that mean?
So HIV is a virus, as you know, correct? So there's a lot of different pathways, and the drugs up until now, all the drugs that we've seen, the antiretrovirals that we've seen in HIV, have targeted specific pathways along the way. This is a new pathway, another pathway, because viruses, they will mutate and find ways around. That's how we get resistance. So, for those who have HIV and have come across resistance to certain drugs, this new class will have no resistance because it's never been seen before, because it is a new pathway and the virus doesn't know it.
So another way of bringing that into modern terms is to compare it to coronavirus, where we have like the Delta and the Mu variant.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. In those same ways, just as those have mutated, because viruses replicate over and over and over all the time. They continue to replicate at massive speeds, so that allows for mutations. The stronger of the viruses will survive going through. So just as with COVID, HIV works in that same way. They want to continue because that's their goal in life, is to survive and to replicate. So they try and find new ways to get around what's slowing them down.
So I'm alive today, living powerfully with HIV because of research that has happened around the issue of HIV. I take a 1 pill a day antiretroviral medication, which renders me undetectable, my viral load, which means that I cannot scientifically transmit HIV to someone else as long as my viral load is undetectable. Did I say that accurately?
You did. So that virus is what we're looking at, and you may hear the terms undetectable, you may hear less than 20. Things like that. So that's where technology comes into play, because less than 20 is kind of the most sensitive test that we have. And actually some of our studies are even looking at more sensitive tests to do what's called a low count viral load. And you can actually get down to, we've seen patients with a viral load of 2. So they have 2 copies of the virus that they are still undetectable, they are still untransmittable. But now, as technology moves forward, just as we're seeing with the new antiretrovirals.
Okay, just a couple more questions. What has inspired you to do this work in your life?
So I've been in clinical research for over 13 years. I used to do cancer research, and then I took a step back and I came back into research because I missed it. So someone like me, I love the details, I love the science, I love all the aspects of it. I love that excitement of something working. Just as it fulfills me even just when the troubles come as well. But that excitement of finding new agents. That's why when we get a new agent like this, it's a phase 2 study. It's been tested in some early stage volunteers, but now to actually be the first to conduct the trial, that's very exciting for me.
Well, I'm just so honored that I'm a client of DAP Health. Speaking of which, how do people apply to be part of your studies? Do they need to be clients of DAP Health? How does that whole onboarding process work?
No, you don't have to be a client to be on one of our clinical trials. We have patients from around the valley who come to us for clinical trials. So it's just a matter of either reaching out to myself or my team, or to even like registration or whatever, just phone the main number at DAP and say, I want to be looked at for a clinical trial, and it'll often get to me. And because clinical trials are very specific, like just because we have a clinical trial doesn't mean that you may qualify for the clinical trial, because there's a list of criteria that patients need to fall under.
So I don't know if this is the study that you're involved with, and I've heard about an injectable antiretroviral treatment that you take every few months and that it is in trials now. Tell me sort of accurately what I'm referring to, because I'm sure that what I'm saying is hearsay, but there's facts and science behind it. And so let's turn my hearsay into something more concrete.
Yes. So the drug you're talking about is called Cabenuva. It was actually approved recently for every 1 month injection. So instead of taking your one pill once a day, you would take an injection every month. We participated in a trial, and we're still doing the trial. We've completed our enrollment. We're following our patients along to do it every 2 months. So we're giving injections once every 2 months to control HIV, keep patients undetectable and everything. And so far we've seen successes in that.
Well, is there anything you would like to add, Greg, that we haven't addressed?
I would just say, just to everyone, just in general, always consider a clinical trial. It's just, you get excellent care on a clinical trial. You be part of something bigger, the science behind it. This is just me on a little bit of a soapbox. Now, it's like, I just think that everything that we've done up till now has gone through clinical trials, and so for those who are debating back and forth, I think this is just, it's one of those things that should be on the top of your mind rather than something going, ooh, that scares me, I don't want to be a guinea pig. So
Well, I would happily participate in any clinical trial for which I was suited, and I so appreciate you and all the work that you do.
all right, well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
And thank you for watching. There's more. Stay tuned to Promo Homo TV. Thanks again, Greg.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
I actually have known my next guest since 1988, when our lives converged around National Coming Out Day, because someone that he was close to in his life was very involved with that project, as was I. And that's how I met Chris Christensen. And Chris, I'm so happy decades later you and I are both still around.
Yes, very much so.
So
And thriving, I see.
Yeah, yes, thriving. Yeah, well, that's what the Aging Positively Reunion Project Conference is about. It's about helping us to thrive. It's being produced by many different organizations. Chris is involved with 2 of them. We're going to talk about Let's Kick Ass Palm Springs. But before we get into that, I wanted to ask you a little bit about HARP, because you're also involved with HARP. So first of all, what does HARP stand for?
HARP stands for the HIV and Aging Research Project. And the name was conceived in 2017 when we got a grant from the NIH to do capacity building for our organization. And so we wanted to look specifically at the group of people that had moved here from various parts of the country that have been HIV positive for a long time. And now we're approaching their senior years, or we're already in their senior years.
Let's Kick Ass really started around the celebration and reinforcement of the lives of people who have been living with HIV for decades. Have I said that correctly? And what would you like to tell us today about Let's Kick Ass?
The ASS stands for AIDS Survivor Syndrome. And a number of years back, it was realized that people living with long-term HIV have all sorts of trauma that's not unlike people that have been out in the battlefield or gone through other traumatic situations in their life, being imprisoned or even being rejected by their families. There are many different things that create some of this trauma that is built up, and with HIV being a culmination of that. So we wanted to get a group of supported people that understood what that was like to be this survivor, to have gone through some of the difficult or bad drugs, and to be around for the drugs that are more tolerable or actually are more effective. And we wanted to, be able to socialize. Many of these people had lost long-term friends, people that they had built trust in, or maybe even a partner, a lover. So it was another way of connecting with people that had that same experience, some of the same history, those points in life, from Stonewall to the first gay pride parades, then through the announcement of HIV, all those milestones that we'd experienced together.
Yes, acknowledging the collective trauma and life experiences of people that were around and experienced HIV and AIDS when it first came on the scene, and can celebrate having survived. It's just such an important group. I have to tell you, one of the reasons I haven't engaged so much with Let's Kick Ass, and I actually plan on doing so in the future for the social opportunities, is that I became HIV positive in 2007, and I just didn't feel like it was fair for me to identify as a long-term survivor. I mean, now I've been living with HIV approaching 15 years, but I know in my heart that I did not have, I mean, I was there, I lost friends, but I didn't have the same sort of personal, desperate life or death experience on such a real level.
It didn't directly impact your health that way, but you did get trauma just from the loss of young friends and multiple losses over maybe several friends over 1 year, losing people that way. And so we acknowledge that there are a lot of people that had just seroconverted recently, maybe within the last 10 or 15 years, yet their whole life has been impacted by HIV because of loss of friends or what it did to the gay community, or the fact that people were trying to avoid it. What did it do to their personal or dating lives because they were afraid to either date someone or not sure about how to protect themselves and might have avoided social contact, or overreacted the other way, maybe gone overboard dating. 5 boyfriends at once. What's that?
I would be happy for one.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that would create trauma.
So I know you're open as a person living with HIV. How long have you been living with HIV?
Since May of 1981, and I was part of the hepatitis vaccine study, so they had been taking my blood specimens all along and freezing those. And I had an incident where on my second hepatitis shot, I had a reaction, which was at the beginning of June. And when they got the HIV test in 1985, that was really reliable, they went back and tested all the blood supply and then all the specimens that they had from their studies and doing protocols. And they found that at that time I had seroconverted in May of 81.
40 years. 40 years and 3 months.
Yeah. In fact, probably when I acquired HIV, it was just like 2 weeks before Gottlieb made the announcement about GRID, about the gay...
related immune deficiency.
Right.
So I just want to thank you for your service, for being on the front lines, for all that you do, for being instrumental in creating the Aging Positively Reunion Conference. Why do you think it's such a vital conference? And it's so cool that this is available, at least this year, virtually around the world. But why do you believe that this is an important conference?
I believe it really speaks directly to the person living with HIV. And what I've appreciated about this is how professionally that it's set up, that they have really top-notch speakers. And from because of the work I do with HARP organization, I've gone to many conferences around the world and in the U.S., so I see how those are organized. And this one is organized in a very similar way, yet it's open to the public. So that's one thing I've really appreciated about it. Another thing is that throughout the year when they're planning the event, they're listening to what's going on in the community, and we're trying to speak back to what is prescient and what is actual vital in people's lives right now. Especially with COVID, it's really highlighted the way people are isolated. And before COVID had hit, we were already thinking in terms of looking at people that are isolated and how do we get them out of their own little bubble to interact more with the community. And we don't want to force anyone to do anything. We want them to have as much interaction as they want. But how could we meet them to break out of that rut or the isolation that they were feeling?
So, overcoming isolation and loneliness is the primary goal of most of the organizations, if not all of the organizations that are participating in this conference. And I know that I personally experience isolation and loneliness right now. And I learned to identify when is it my choice and when is it brought about by other circumstances and how can I move through it. And it's an ongoing challenge. People will see this episode well beyond the actual conference, but anyone who's seeing it before September 18th, 2021, you have the opportunity to participate virtually from the links in the comments section and the text associated with this broadcast. I want to conclude by saying a little bit more about Let's Kick Ass. ASS stands for AIDS Survivor Syndrome. It was founded in San Francisco. A chapter started in Palm Springs. I was at one of the first meetings, I believe. But it's also very much about overcoming isolation and loneliness and providing social opportunity.
It's like one step leads to the next, but it's kind of getting them out of that initial isolation first, getting them out and feel comfortable enough to join in and participate with us.
And what is the official website address for Let's Kick Ass Palm Springs?
It's lkaps.org.
Well, thank you, Chris, for talking to me today.
Thank you for having us and featuring Let's Kick Ass. We appreciate it.
And for those who want more information, go to lkaps.org. And thank you for watching. You're in for a treat for several reasons, not the least of which is my guest, Richard Bass, who is the founder of PALS, which stands for
Planning Ahead for LGBTQ Seniors.
And another wonderful treat is that this is the first interview I've ever done showing you the real space that I live in here at the Vista Sunrise Apartments, which is the affordable housing complex affiliated with DAP Health. And this apartment where I live is how I am planning ahead for my future, and one of the reasons that I'm living powerfully with HIV. So, and what you're seeing over my right shoulder is a California king-size loft bed, which was manufactured, incidentally, by a lesbian. Shouting out to our lesbians who can build loft beds for 6'3.5" giants like me. Enough about me, Richard. First of all, I was aware of PALS when you launched, and what a great service. Tell me in a nutshell, and my viewers, what is PALS, and how did it begin?
PALS stands for Planning Ahead for LGBT Seniors. I started it 8 years ago. We're starting our 8th season of seminars right now. I was witnessing friends of mine and partners of friends. For instance, a friend of mine's partner was living with leukemia for 2.5 years. One day in the afternoon, about 3 o'clock, the cancer blasted his nervous system and he became paralyzed. And I went over to visit. It was so chaotic. No one knew what to do. They had not made any plans on care or end of life. And I didn't know what to do. All I could wring my hands. In the meantime, I found out as I was reviewing my will that in my will, it said that I wanted to stay home if I needed long-term care. I changed my mind. I wanted to go to a community. But there wasn't any that I was comfortable with after going over several of them, having lunch and all that. And so I started raising capital to start my own and doing focus groups on what people want. Well, in the meantime, Stonewall Gardens opened. Historic. Great place. Well, I was outraged a little bit at the beginning because they stole my idea. But then I thought, well, hey, I don't have to do it. And with these focus groups, I discovered that many people had planned for end of life, but very few planned for long-term care. And there was a really tremendous need, because once I brought that up, they go, well, we don't know really what to do. And so an acquaintance of mine that I met around that time, Brian DeVries, professor of gerontology at San Francisco State, and I chatted, did those focus groups, and set up our first series of seminars to give people information on how to plan ahead and to have conversations about the 7 essential topics that we need to talk about.
So I happen to know, because I have participated in the past in the Aging Positively Reunion Project annual conference, that the PALS seminar is one of the most popular and people are most engaged. So if you're seeing this ahead of the September 18th, 2021 seminar, you can join virtually at the link in the text associated with this broadcast. So what are these? And PALS is available throughout the year as a resource. By the way, do you have a website? How do people find out more information?
Yeah, we do have a website. I'm glad you brought that up. It's palsindthedesert.org. .com.
PALS, P-A-L-S, in the desert.com. What are the 7 essential steps of planning?
Well, they're conversations. It's many, many, many steps. But there are 7 essential conversations we need to have, either with ourselves or with other people. First of all, what are our wishes and fears about the future? What do we want? We need to have legal conversations about legal documents, care options, financial, legacy, end of life, and what to do with our personal property. And you know what? It's really interesting, but since there are conversations we have to have, there's an opportunity to enhance relationships. Like, one of the things we need to do is to create scenarios. Like, what if I fall down at home and I'm unconscious? What's the plan? Or what if I become ill or I have surgery? What am I going to do for my meals? Well, in the process of having these conversations, we talk more personally to people. And like, I know my life very often for many, many years was all about brunch conversations. We had a wonderful time. But then...
who doesn't love a brunch?
Then, as I was getting older, I had more concerns, and I added to my repertoire of conversations. May I give you the key to my place in case anything happens to me? I asked my brother. I'm blessed to have a brother. Many people don't have people who they can really ask. Will you be my power of attorney? He wouldn't talk about it for 2 years. And so finally I said, okay, Jack, I'm changing my will. You need to give me an answer. And he said, well, fine. If anything happens to you, I'll sell your condo and it'll be fine. I said, no. I didn't realize, see, I'm learning as well. I need to explain what it was to be a power of attorney for someone, to take over their life if they become incapacitated. So he thought about it for a little bit, and he said, okay, fine, I'll do it. That's all very important, especially for long-term care, because if we need help with daily living, for instance, and we look into assisted living or board and care or hiring a home health aide to come help us, that's all out of pocket. It's not covered by medical insurance. The hospital, obviously, the medical, skilled nursing is covered. Some skilled nursing have Medicare beds, but we really need to explore the cost of the care. And very often we need to activate our friends to help us out. So we just don't want to wait. I believe to age positively, we need to plan ahead so that we're not surprised by and rushed to make decisions.
And now you have an idea about why the PALS seminar is always very popular. There's just not enough time, especially in this interview, to cover all the topics we need to cover. So people can go to palsindthedesert.com for more information. And what sort of resources are available at the website?
We have a resource page. that would give resources for financial help, for legal help, food assistance, care options, and we have a resource page. We also have an archive of former seminars that we've given, so they can be very, very helpful. Legal, hospice, many different topics.
And thank you for all you do for the community.
You're very welcome, Nicholas. I'm happy to have this opportunity to talk with you.
And remember, if you're inspired by anything we've talked about, go to palsinthedesert.com. So there you have it, some very important interviews. And once again, if you're seeing the broadcast before September 18th, 2021, you can find a registration link. You can participate worldwide from the virtual, it's a virtual conference in 2021. And if you go to promohomo.tv and you look at the Life Positive section, and on this episode page, you'll find a registration link to the free virtual conference. And I have some news for you. I do have a winner to the prize. So this is the prize. And earlier in the show, I gave out a custom hashtag for someone to enter. And what would ordinarily happen now is I would open up a window and I would press the button and it would spin a wheel and it would choose someone. Thankfully, tonight we only had one entry because the wheel isn't working, but I know who comments because I can see the comments. And Rock, you won the sticker. So congratulations, Rock. You won the official sticker, which is right there. And you know how to reach me. Send me your mailing address and I'll be really honored to send you the sticker. I'm really grateful to all of you who've tuned in for this premiere of Life Positive. It's the first episode, and of course, it's a work in progress, but I feel like we started out at a high note. And I appreciate your participation, and I look forward to welcoming you again to any of the shows at promohomo.tv. Until next time, I'm Nicholas Snow.
And I just